Welcome. Today we are looking at KCSE Paper 1, 2009. Thanks a lot for subscribing. Question 1a. From the Genesis stories of creation, outline 7 teachings about human beings. B. With reference to the story of the fall of human beings in Genesis 3, state 4 effects of sin on Adam and Eve. C. How does the church help to bring back members who have fallen from their faith? Question 2a. Explain 4 characteristics of a covenant demonstrated in the covenant between God and Abraham. B. Give 7 similarities between Jewish and traditional African practice of circumcision. C. Identify 5 lessons that Christians learn about God from the call of Abraham. Question 3a. State 7 functions of the temple in the Jewish community. B. Identify 6 ways which show that King Solomon turned away from the covenant way of life. C. Give 7 factors that have led to the increase of Christian denominations in Kenya today. Question 4a. Give 4 similarities between prophets in the Old Testament and traditional African communities. B. Outline 5 teachings of Prophet Amos on the remnant and restoration of the Israelites. C. State the relevance of Prophet Amos' teaching on election of Israel's Christians in Kenya today. Question 5a. State 4 promises that the Israelites made when they renewed their covenant with God during the time of Nehemiah. It's found in Nehemiah chapter 10 verse 28 to 29. 5b. Identify 5 final reforms carried out by Nehemiah to restore the worship of God in Judah. C. Write down 7 problems that Christian leaders in Kenya face in their work today. Question 6a. Outline 6 rituals performed during the birth of a baby in traditional African communities. B. Give 6 reasons why children are important in traditional African communities. C. Explain 4 ways children are made responsible members in the traditional African communities. Marking scheme. 1a. The teaching about human beings from the biblical creation accounts. Human beings are created in the image and likeness of God. They have been given authority over the God's creation. They communicate with God. They are the greatest creation of God. They have ability to think. They are blessed by God. They have been given a special place to stay, that is the Garden of Eden. Human beings are to use other creations for their benefit. They are to take care of the creation like till the land. Human beings are to procreate. Man and woman are to complement each other. Human beings are God's creation. The woman is created out of the man's rib. 1b. Effects of sin on Adam and Eve. They started dying, yet they were to live forever. They became afraid of God. They lost authority over the other creation. Man was to rule over the woman. The woman was to be in pain while giving birth. There developed enmity between human beings and the serpent. They became embarrassed because of their nakedness. They were expelled out of the Garden of Eden. They developed mistrust between man and woman. 1c. How the church helps to bring back members who have fallen from faith. By visiting them in their homes, by being patient, by forgiving them, by evangelizing to them, by guiding and counseling them, by praying for them, by inviting them back to church, by encouraging them to repent, by offering material needs. Question 2a. The characteristics of covenant between God and Abraham. The covenant is made between 2 parties who enter into a mutual agreement. God and Abraham were 2 parties that entered into a mutual agreement. In a covenant, promises are made. God made several promises of what he would do for Abraham. The covenant solemnized through rituals. Abraham offered animals and birds as sacrifices to God. A covenant has an outward side. Abraham was to circumcise all his male children. Covenant has conditions to be met. The covenant between God and Abraham was not to be broken. It bound even his descendants generations later. During covenant making, there were witnesses. God had a sole initiator wrapped through the sacrifices as the witnesses to the covenant. The covenant is sealed. It was sealed through the blood of animals. 2b. The similarities between the Jewish and the traditional African practices of circumcision. In both, it promotes one into full membership of the community. It is a mark of identification of a person to a particular community. It is carried out on male children. In both cases, circumcision has religious significance. In both cases, special people carry out the operation. In both cases, it unites the members to the ancestors. In both cases, members receive new names. In both cases, the rite is carried on from generation to generation. In both cases, the ritual is a communal affair. In both cases, it involves the cutting of the foreskin. 2c. Identify lessons that Christians learn about God from the call of Abraham. God demands faith. God is the provider. God blesses. God is the protector. God is the controller of the world. God is everywhere. God is the only one to be worshipped. God guides people. God makes his promises. God cares for his people. 3a. The functions of the temple in the Jewish community. It was used for worship. It was a place where law was taught to the children. Priests burned sacrifices there. Purification rituals were conducted there. It was a home for priests. That is the residential for the Levites. Presentation of babies were carried out in the temple. It was a business center for the Jews. The Jewish council, that is the Sanhedrin, held their sessions there. It was a law court. All the Jewish festivals were celebrated there. B. Ways that show that King Solomon turned away from the covenant way of life. He married many foreign wives. He allowed the worship of foreign gods in Israel. He murdered his half-brother Adonijah. He taxed the Israelites heavily for his upkeep. He disobeyed the instruction given to him by his father, David, to rely on God. He built places of worship for the false gods. He subjected the Israelites to forced labor. He signed treaties with his neighbors for protection. He sold land to Hiram, king of Tyre. He used more time to build his palace and the temple of God. 3C. Factors that have led to the increase of Christian denominations in Kenya. Rivalry for leadership, differences in the biblical interpretations, resistance to change by older church members who want to remain as it was, greed, selfishness, where starting a church has become a business, lack of spiritual satisfaction by some members making them start their own churches, lack of good role models, desire to be free from missionary control, differences is in mode of worship, tribalism. The Kenyan constitution has allowed freedom of worship, disagreements in ethical issues. Question 4a. Similarities between prophets in the Old Testament and traditional African communities. Both mediated between God and the people. Both received revelation from God. Both foretold the future. Both played religious as well as political role. Both spoke with authority. Both acknowledged the presence of a supreme being. In both, there were prophets and prophetesses. Both prophesied and condemned evil in the society. In both, their prophecies were fulfilled. In both, they were consulted on various issues in the society. 4b. The teachings of Prophet Amos on the remnant and restoration of the Israelites is found in Amos chapter 9 from verse 8 to 15. God would restore the dynasty of David after destruction. God would bring the people back to their land. The people would rebuild their cities so that the remnant of Edom can occupy them. The land would be reproductive. The people would grow food and harvest it. The people of Israel would be peaceful. The Israelites would never be taken into exile again. Question 4c. The relevance of Prophet Amos on the election of Israel to Christians in Kenya today. Christians are God's people. It is God who chooses them to be Christians. God chooses one to be a Christian. The Christians have been chosen by God to proclaim the good news. God protects his people from their enemies. Christians should be faithful to God. They will be punished by God if they do wrong. They should always repent their sins. The church leaders are chosen by God. Question 5a. There are promises that Israelites made when they renewed their covenant with God during the time of Nehemiah. It's found in Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 28 to 39. They were to live according to God's law. They would not marry with the foreigners living in their land. They promised not to farm every 7th year. They would make annual contribution towards the temple expenses. They were to provide wood for burnt offering. They were to offer the first fruits of their harvest as required by the law. They would pay their tithes accordance with the law. They will not do any business on the Sabbath day. 5b. The final reforms carried out by Nehemiah to restore the worship of God in Judah. Cleansing of the temple, reinstating of the Levites and other temple workers. He ordered the closure of Jerusalem for the proper Sabbath observance. He separated the Jews from the foreigners. He purified the priesthood, throwing out the household of Tobiah out of the chamber, cleansing the chamber in the temple, returning the vessels of the house of God, appointing treasurers over the storehouses, stopping the buying and selling of wares on the Sabbath day. He ordered an end to mixed marriages. 5c. The problem that Christian leaders face in their work today. Opposition from political leaders, lack of cooperation from members of the church, false prophets, misinterpretation of the scriptures, drug abuse among the members, lack of adequate time for pastoral care, poor infrastructure that makes it impossible to reach some areas, insecurity in some parts of the country, lack of resources to enable them to spread the good news, lack of professional training to enable them to do their work effectively, permissiveness, which has become the order of the day, negative influence from mass media. Question 6a. Rituals performed during the birth of a baby in traditional African communities. There is feasting in the family, prayers of thanksgiving are offered, protective charms are given to the mother, sacrifices are offered to God. The mother and the baby are kept in seclusion. There is dancing, singing for the new life. The umbilical cord is cut to separate the baby from the mother. The mother are given gifts. The mother's hair is shaved. Relations are made to announce the sex of the baby. The baby is washed. The baby is given bitter and sweet substance to take. B. Reasons why the children are important in traditional African communities. They ensure the continuity of the society. They inherit the parents' property. They take care of the parents during old age. They cement the relationship between the husband and the wife. They are a source of labor. They offer security to the society. They are a replacement of dead relatives. Children are a source of wealth to the family or community. They run errands for the community. Did you understand? Kindly let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know what video I can look at tomorrow. Thanks a lot for subscribing and listening to me. God bless you.